Watch now the original ABC News broadcasts of a great TV news story. Israel versus the PLO, the invasion of Lebanon.
The Israeli Defense Force, also known as IDF, is the main military force of Israel, founded in May of 1948. They consist of ground, air, and naval forces. They are one of the forces involved in the Israeli-Lebanon War of 1982, as well as the Lebanon War of 2006. The PLO, or Palestinian Liberation Organization, was founded in May of 1964 as a response to liberating the Palestinian state through armed forces. They were the other opposing force in the First Lebanon War of 1982. Following conflicts in the 1970s, the Palestine Liberation Organization moved from Jordan to Lebanon after defeat, settling there. The PLO dished out several terrorist attacks against the Israeli people. Lebanon received the retaliation, despite wanting the PLO out of their country anyways. With the Lebanese political system already fragile, civil war broke out in 1975, rendering their government useless and creating the perfect opportunity for the PLO to create a state within the Lebanese state. In 1978, following several other PLO terrorist attacks on the Israeli people, as well as their involvement in the Lebanon Civil War, the Israeli Defense Force, IDF, occupied southern Lebanon for 120 days, training what would become the SLA, a pro-Israeli force within Lebanon. In 1982, with the PLO fearing a major attack from Lebanese/Israeli forces, the Abu Nidal organization committed this crime.
A terrorist attack on Israel's ambassador in Britain last night.
At least 2 Israeli divisions have been spotted by U.S. satellite and other intelligence poised for an attack along the Lebanese border. Their position could foreshadow either the long-feared massive attack or a smaller invasion which would aim only at PLO installations in southern Lebanon.
Little did the Abu Nidal organization, and as well as the PLO, know, but they had just started the Lebanon War of 1982, putting in motion the IDF's Operation Peace for Galilee. After the attempted assassination of the Israeli ambassador, the Israeli cabinet approved a full-scale invasion of Lebanon. The IDF invaded from the south all the way to Beirut, linking up with their allies, surrounding the PLO, who had moved to the most northern part of Beirut, hoping to avoid destruction. The Israeli Navy and Air Force bombarded the city. The IDF shelled West Beirut for 7 weeks with their allies, the Phalanges, eventually forcing the PLO out. The innocent civilian population has always been caught in the crossfire, being trapped in Beirut during the invasion, though the numbers of the population killed is still unknown. There were just over 1,200 Israeli soldiers killed during the attacks. The PLO casualties remain unknown, though there is an estimated 6,000 to 8,000 PLO members located within Beirut during the Lebanon War. The United States regarded the invasion of Lebanon as valid, though after the IDF broached a discussed 25-mile limit, it was deemed unnecessary. The Lebanon War of 1982 has been referred to as a war of choice by Prime Minister Menachem Begin. The international consensus was split, though it was agreed upon that there should be a ceasefire, which ultimately ended the war.
Who exactly are the Hezbollah, and what do they want with Israel? Well, Hezbollah, also known as the Party of God, is a militant jihadist group comprised of Shia Muslims. The resistance group has risen to become a dominant military and political power in Lebanon. They are so dominant within Lebanon that Hezbollah is often referred to as a state within a state. But Hezbollah's goals go beyond the borders of Lebanon. The group has had its sight firmly set on Israel. Hezbollah was founded in 1982 after a war with Israel that resulted in a long occupation of Lebanon. The group was established with the goal of ending the occupation in Lebanon and ultimately liberating Jerusalem and dismantling the Israeli state. How strong is Hezbollah, and what threat do they pose to Israel?
On the morning of July 12, 2006, the Hezbollah force attacked northern Israel in a well-planned attack known as True Promise. Starting with Katyusha rockets and mortar shell fire, they invaded Israel's border, exploding Humvees, taking prisoners, as well as killing several IDF soldiers. As the dust settled, Israel suffered 8 soldier deaths, as well as 6 injured and 2 abducted. Just a day after the True Promise attacks on July 13th, Israel placed a naval and air blockade on Lebanon in hopes of preventing a full-scale ground attack. For the next 10 days, Israeli forces continued air and artillery raids while building their ground forces at the northern Israel-southern Lebanon border. On July 22nd, the IDF launched its full-scale attack against the Hezbollah, once again invading Lebanon with over 2,000 soldiers. The IDF seized the Hezbollah staging village of Maron al-Raz, warranting a retaliation by Hezbollah. As the weeks went on, the IDF seized everything Hezbollah in an attempt to drive them from Lebanon. Soon, Hezbollah began retaliating, launching rockets into Israeli cities. By July 25th, 15 Israeli citizens had been killed, as well as a dozen injured. On August 11th, the United Nations unanimously agreed on a ceasefire known as Resolution 1701. The resolution called for an immediate ceasefire, the withdrawal of Israeli forces, and the disarmament of Hezbollah in the southern Lebanon. On August 12th, the Lebanese government agreed, and Hezbollah assured they would fire no more rockets as long as the Israeli forces were withdrawn promptly. On August 13th, Israeli forces agreed, and on the 14th, the resolution was officially in effect. Resolution 1701 officially called for a number of principles to be accepted by both sides. Full respect for the blue line internationally recognized Israeli-Lebanese border by both parties. Security arrangements to prevent the resumption of hostilities. Full implementation of the relevant provisions that require the disarmament of all armed groups in Lebanon, so there will be no more weapons or authority in Lebanon other than that of the Lebanese state. No foreign forces in Lebanon without the consent of its government. No sales or supplies of arms and related material to Lebanon except as authorized by its government, and provision to the United Nations of all remaining maps of landmines in Lebanon and Israel.